Good morning, Miami. It's still morning. It's still barely morning.
Is so awesome.
I wish that was my alarm. I need to add that as my wake up every morning.
That reminds me of the old, like, the Steelers that won 4 championships in the 70s. That old music with like Jack Lambert, all his teeth knocked out.
Were and the helmets that they were like these form fitting, like clearly offered no protection.
Oh no,
other than like a bottle hitting your head. Like there was no padding.
Right. That would be the only protection it is. Yeah, and they probably were all like had divots in them and stuff at the end of the game. The equipment guy had to like putty them up at the end and then paint them again. Awesome.
Well, I got to tell you, so I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Listening to sports radio this morning, someone said it was an unprecedented wild card weekend with 6 games. Has that not happened before?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I didn't.
2 and 2.
But is it because it's triple headers? Is that unusual? Something?
I think so.
This maybe
it's
I don't
been a
know.
while since they've done it that way.
Two. I mean, that's a lot of football this week.
Oh no, I'm super excited, man. Yeah. But before we even get to that, just on a sad note, on a somber note, Tommy Lasorda passed away today. When I worked for the Cubs organization and I was working in the VIP services and ticketing, and he came to the window and got tickets for me, and then we escorted him into the back office, the VIP entrance, and the guy was just so gracious and cool. And I remember him when the Dodgers won that World Series with Oral Hershiser.
Yep.
And that, yeah. So
what year was that? Do you remember?
Oh God, 89-ish, 88. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, no, that's it. That was about when I was in high school. That's incredible. Yeah, it's interesting to think about when we got baseball cranking up.
38 days till pitchers and catchers report. And at the end of the show, I want to tease the our new show that's going to start once spring training starts, and then through the season, Mainline Marlins. Which is we're going to do an hour in the studio once a week. And then on the weekends when the Marlins are in Jupiter, we're going to go up there, do some interviews with players, coaches, and get a feel of what I just want to smell the grass. And yeah,
we need it. We'd be such a nice start. It's interesting. Another kind of spring ritual, but I got an email from the Dolphins saying attend our watch party for the draft.
Okay.
And I've been to watch parties before. And they've been really awesome, like on the field, and they have the TV set up. I was wondering if it was a typo. Like I'm surprised that
they're going to do.
No, and that's what I thought, but it's not. I mean, it doesn't say that.
It's at Hard Rock?
It's at Hard Rock. It says that. We'll see.
Well, they got a limited number of people, I would imagine.
Maybe.
So because they were letting fans go to the game, so they're going to have to spread out, and they'll probably have it on the Jumbotron.
But I just say, like, it was interesting to me. It makes me think about how baseball is going to look, because baseball, it's an interesting problem with these open air stadiums because you can clearly get people in. Like it's been interesting to see, like the Bills, they didn't allow fans, but for the playoffs, they're going to allow fans.
And they're testing the people.
Yeah.
They're going to have to be tested to
get into as they walk in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
pretty cool.
Just another sign of like getting back to normal. I mean, I think that's so much of what we need is some hope of getting back to the normality. And it's interesting the role that sports is playing in that.
Hopefully we're going to have media credentials so we don't have to worry about tickets or worrying about getting into the game. Only, if they at Roger Dean, if they only allow a fraction of the attendance, then, there are going to be a lot of people that miss out on spring training games.
Yeah. It'll be interesting.
That's the best part of it.
It's a funny thing because like spring training is kind of a natural bubble for these teams, right? Like that is a bubble. They're away from their families. So it'll be interesting to see how baseball gets off and how it goes.
Right. Yeah. Grant Miller in the house. So, so RIP Tommy Lasorda for sure. But let's get into these football games.
You got it.
Starting tomorrow, so there's 3 Saturday, 3 Sunday in the same schedule pattern. 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 8 or 8:15 is the setup. So the first game is actually probably one of my favorite of the weekend. Colts versus Bills at Buffalo. The problem with the Colts is that, to me, they're just so inconsistent, and they haven't had a really solid win against a good team. And the only reason they even got in is because Miami got destroyed by Buffalo. Otherwise, we would have had that spot.
We would have been
playing Buffalo. And then it would have been brutal.
What's the weather? Do we know in Buffalo? Going to be this weekend?
Know that, and that's important because there's a little caveat, and I'll get to that in 1 second. So
it's going to be pleasant.
It's going to be perfect for Buffalo people, not so much for San Diego guy like Phillip Rivers.
For indoor dome playing Indianapolis.
Exactly. Colts have failed to cover the spread last 3 games. Bills are on an 8-game cover streak right now. Josh Allen is an awesome quarterback. I think he's potentially an MVP. I think it's going to be between him and Patrick Mahomes, or maybe even Aaron Rodgers is in that conversation. Orchard Park on Saturday, 30 degrees. Rivers, this is an interesting point. Rivers has not won a game below 35 degrees since week 12 of the 2013 season.
Wow.
The line is Buffalo -6 over 51. I'm taking the Bills minus the 6.5. I think it's 6.5 now. And then I'm going to take the over, and I'm actually going to predict a score. 35-24 Bills.
That's awesome.
And to go ahead, and I'm going to throw out the gauntlet to this one guy, because when Andy Corge had Lee Sterling on, was it last week or the week? Yeah, I think it was last week. He was making fun of me that I was like the protege of Lee Sterling, or the mini Lee Sterling.
The mini Lee Sterling.
Yeah, well, that's going to all change.
The poor man's Lee Sterling.
Exactly. The hillbilly Lee Sterling, basically, is what I was being
from the foothills of West Virginia.
Something like that. So I'm just going to go ahead out and we're just going to make this a challenge, because if you take the 6 games, there's a spread, there's a line, and then there's a total. So that's 12 possible bets. And I'm just going to challenge Lee right now on live television on this broadcast. Go ahead and pick them. You can email them to me at tommy@communitynewspapers.com. I'm not going to reveal your picks because that's not cool. I mean, I don't mind putting mine out there because I'm not charging for them. So email me the picks, Lee. We're going to go head to head, and this is going to be for.
We got the challenge for all the marbles.
And it's going to be for a steak dinner, and maybe I'll come up with a little trophy that we could pass around. Yeah, because we're going to do it. I'm going to try to do it with them every week. I love
the challenge. But anyone who didn't tune in to see Lee, it's the level of analysis. It's like these wise guys, how these games and how they manage the picks. I mean, it is amazing. I like it as a sports fan. I personally am not a bettor, and I like the analysis. I like getting into it. I never paid attention to what the weather was. It's just like you show up at the game and do it. And now talking to you. Hey, before we move on to the next game, I wanted to give a couple shout outs. Janet Ray, thank you for tuning in. It's so nice to see you on here. Kristen Rosen Gonzalez, please let us know your favorite team. I'm assuming it's the Dolphins, but it's so cool that you're watching.
You got to pick a playoff team. I actually texted her and said, hey, watch Party My Show. I'm getting ready to go on with Winker.
Brian Hollenbeck, my Commodore.
Here, I'm going to switch it so we have the chat up there in case some
get it up
person
there.
The 3 people that are watching actually have something to say.
And Frances had, I appreciate it. Frances, one of my favorite attorneys. She put in about Tommy Lasorda, and it's cool. We think about these people when they pass and the impact he had on the game in LA. So it's cool. Thanks for tuning in.
He's an icon, man. He's an icon, and I can never unsee. Even when he was at that Cubs game, and it wasn't even a playoff game, but they were on a good run that season. It wasn't. It was the season after the World Series.
So what else we got?
No, I was just going to tell him about it. I can never unsee him out of the uniform.
Oh yeah, no, exactly.
And that day it was a little bit chilly. It was probably like 50 degrees in at Wrigley, and he was wearing the classic Dodger blue jacket that he wore in the dugout forever. Yeah. It's probably the same one.
It's funny you say, because when you think about baseball, there's no other sport where the coaches dress up like they're about to take the field, Right. And it's such an interesting tradition. And it's interesting because in football, I find it interesting that no coach has gone back to the suit and tie. And it dates me. And I'm not a particularly well-dressed guy, but I love seeing the coach on the side with a nice suit on.
Are you talking like football?
Yeah.
Like being like Landry?
Yeah, all those guys. When you look at the old games, they all had their suits on.
Yeah. Chuck Noll, not so much. He was more like he had the sweater and the.
And it's hard also, with the weather now, it's like you look at the old baseball games and everyone in the stands has, a suit and a vest and a tie and a top hat on, right?
Right.
And it just like they dealt with it. And now with the, we don't.
Basketball coaches too used to wear those,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Who was the guy that had the Lou Carnesecca with the sweaters from St. John's?
Yep.
All right, game 2, which is I believe a 4:00. I'm going to pull up the schedule just so I don't screw this up on the NFL app here. But that's the LA team that I don't like so much. The Rams. 6 seed against Seattle. Seattle minus 3.5, 42.5 is the total. The problem with the Rams right now is that Jared Goff just had that thumb surgery. It's going to be a total of 11 days that he's going to have to recover from that. How effective is he going to be? How comfortable is he going to be? And are the Seahawks going to get after his hand?
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's going to be in some kind of protective shield or whatever.
But it's interesting too, because like Jared Goff to me is a bettor's nightmare because he's hot and cold. Like sometimes you'll watch him and be like, oh, they made the right bet. This guy's the real deal. He's a franchise quarterback. And then sometimes they throw a defense at him or so something new to him, and he looks so out of sorts.
And the crazy thing about that, the Seattle D has only allowed an average of 16 points in his last 8 games, which is leading the league as far as defense in the last 8 games. They do have a couple guys that are not sure that they're going to play, key defenders, but I don't think they're line players. I think they're secondary guys. But look, the Rams defense is still pretty good too. They got Aaron Donald.
Pretty good. That's a great description. I mean, they are
Aaron Donald. That guy's a man amongst children.
What team let him go? Remember, wasn't it the Oakland? Did Oakland let him go?
I think so. Yeah.
Well,
foolish mistake.
Is there a player? I mean, I guess JJ Watt was like that for a couple of years, like that just dominates. I mean, he just wherever he is
in
on the
every
field,
play. He's after the ball on every single play.
And you double team him. I heard a Dolphins defensive lineman. We got Grant Miller in the house.
I just got saved big time by Dave Heffernan because I was going to have to do the Romberg show with Romberg, and that was going to be embarrassing.
Oh, it's just the two of you.
Yeah.
No Andy Corge today.
No, it was going to be the big man and the
Where's Andy?
He went. I think he's on some romantic trip to St. Augustine. I don't know if I'm divulging any secrets.
For those
I hope
of
he's
you
listening right now,
keeping up, going to see. Hopefully, that's with his wife.
Yeah,
and,
I don't think it's with anyone else. I'm pretty sure. Rebecca's going with him.
For those not that, so it doesn't get too insider, but Tommy is the producer of the the Romberg and Cord show.
Right.
5 days
which
a week.
Involves a lot of alcohol, a lot of banter, a lot of food generally. Yeah. It's pretty rough. And then I have to come back here and be here at like 8 a.m. So
yeah, we keep talking about we need to get you flat screens in here. You just sleep here.
Yeah, there's no reason for me
to leave.
I'm paying unnecessary rent right now. Okay, game 3. So let me give my predictions.
Yes,
so, Lee Sterling, get your ears perked up on this one. My pick is Seattle minus 3.5 total under final score 24-17 Seahawks. So far I went with the faves, and I'm going to stick with that. But I've got a couple dogs creeping around the corner on Sunday. Game 3, Tom Brady is actually the 5 seed against the 4 seed Washington, and it's only because Tampa couldn't beat the Saints. One of the 2 times, and in fact, they got blown out by them both times. Tampa minus 8.5, 45 is the total. The Bucs offense seems to be coming together the last couple games, the last month at least, averaging 37 points a game. One questionable player, Mike Evans, who's a key receiver, he was back in camp yesterday or at practice, so there's a possibility that he will be okay to play. That's another weapon, but he's also got Antonio Brown, and who seemed to calm down under that regime down there.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because he was a wild card. Antonio Brown coming in, he's playing well, and the thing that's interesting,
he's a wingnut is what he is really.
What's happened to Tampa is you had receivers. Those are receivers that can blow the top off the defense. Like they will just outrun you. And then Brady seems out of nowhere to have this beautiful long ball back.
Mm-hmm.
And, every time I tune in, I just see these beautiful passes to guys streaking down the sidelines. Like it's really, that offense is looking pretty effective. I mean, I still don't think they can beat the Saints, but the Tampa is a really intriguing story. Like that thing of like, hitting the playoffs in the right frame of mind.
Yeah,
they seem to be, and then it'll be interesting to see what Brady. He's in the playoffs. That they had. They're where they need to be. How badly does he want to go? He is going to be dragging that team.
He wants to prove to
every fiber of his being.
No matter where he goes, he can do it.
Yeah. No, it's a big deal.
Yeah. And as much as I want to cheer for Alex Smith, and that's an amazing story from him, potentially not even being alive, to losing his leg, to then not having to lose his leg, but never be able to play again, to now competing in the NFL and in the playoffs. But I think with that calf injury he's got now, they're probably going to have to do 2 quarterbacks. I don't know that poses a problem to the Bucs defense. Really, I think they can handle that. But I think it's gonna stifle the offense for the Redskins for sure. And then look, out of all the teams that got into the playoffs, the Washington Redskins have the worst record.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stick with another favorite in this one, Tampa Bay -8.5. But I'm gonna take the over 45. Final score 31-21 Bucs.
Got it.
So that's the end of day 1.
That's going to be a hell of a day of football.
An amazing day. And then it gets better because now you start the first game on Sunday is Ravens-Titans, which is going to be a revenge game for a lot of reasons. These teams hate each other. Tennessee last year when Baltimore had that amazing record and should have just walked through the playoffs and won the whole thing, or at least made it to the AFC Championship, they got beat by the Titans. The Titans knocked them out, and the Titans they knocked out the Patriots too.
Yep.
But here's the thing. Lamar Jackson got COVID. Since that time, they're 5-0 against the spread.
Yep.
They're scoring, as they should. The last time these two teams played, it was an overtime game. Titans ultimately won that 30-24. So you got a double revenge factor for last season and for this last game they played.
Tannehill, talk about a beautiful deep ball. Tannehill, who couldn't do anything right here, I think he may be the number 1 QBR quarterback in the league, playing well. And I think about, can you imagine waking up on Sunday morning as a linebacker and thinking about having to tackle George all day?
Oh man. I
mean, he is unbelievable.
Yeah, you're gonna have to be in the tub after that game.
The violence, it's like weird. Like, unless you've played football, you can't understand like the concept of like running with violence, right? Like the way he hits, like
smashes.
It's unbelievable. It is that I don't. It makes me feel bad as a Dolphins fan to see Tannehill succeed at this level.
Right.
Like, not that I hate Watts. The guy's an awesome dude, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't, I don't enjoy watching him. But I got to tell you something. Tennessee looks good.
They look solid. And I was the way I was talking, you might have thought I was picking the Ravens. Oh, no, my friend. This is my first dog of the weekend.
The rabid dog.
Tennessee is there's 2 teams that are on the road as favorites, Tampa Bay being one at Washington, and the other one is Tennessee. Or Baltimore's favorite. What was I saying? It's at Tennessee.
Yep.
The game's at Tennessee. So the Ravens are actually favored, and the only other team like that is Tampa Bay. So I screwed that up totally. The problem is Baltimore doesn't have a convincing win over anybody respectable other than the Colts, and that was back in the beginning of November. So my pick is Tennessee +3. Pay attention, Sterling.
Wow.
Over. The over is 55. I'm going to take the 3 and go over 55. Final score, Tennessee 35, Ravens 27.
Big upset pick.
Big time. All right, 2 more. 2 more to go.
This is the 4 p.m. game.
This is 7-seed Chicago Bears versus the Saints. This is another one that I picked the dog.
Are you serious?
And I'm going to tell you why. So -10, 47.5 is the total. Saints are 0-3 against the spread in the postseason the last 2 years. Here's a crazy statistics. Teams that are 500 or worse are a perfect 7-0 versus the spread in their first playoff game. I like those odds. And that might be one that Sterling's using, an angle he's also using. But the prospect of Mitch Trubisky leading a team to a playoff win against the Saints is super slim. Like, I was there. I was living in Chicago at the time when they drafted Mitch, and it was Mitchapalooza, and everybody had the Mitchapalooza T-shirts, and they were on the bandwagon, and quickly that dissolved Disaster zone.
Enthusiasm dissolved. But I have a very good friend from Chicago. So I've watched Chicago all year, and they are a complete enigma. They seem to just look, they're like Tampa Bay. They can look terrible, and then they can play really well. And the offense all of a sudden starts clicking. I don't see, honestly, how they can win that game. But, like last week's game, I watched every snap of Green Bay. And they didn't look bad against Green Bay. Like, they gave Green Bay a tough game.
Yeah.
I mean, Green Bay, what it was like? They didn't beat themselves. Green Bay beat them. Green Bay's a better team. Green Bay beat them, but they held their own.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, look, Breeze has tons of playoff experience. Alvin Kamara is an absolute beast. He had 5 touchdowns before he got COVID and couldn't play that last game. They're going to do enough to move on and then end up playing Green Bay if they win. But they're not going to cover the 10. Look, in the NFL, in a playoff game, 10 points, I'm taking the 10. Bears plus 10. I'm going to take the over. The over is 47.5. I'm going with the final score, Saints 28-21 and the over. And then the nightcap. And now I just read a story on ESPN.com this morning about one of the writers was saying the league should postpone the Cleveland game because of all the COVID issues that they've got going on. Players that are dropping like flies because of exposure to COVID, then catching it. I don't know that's going to happen. But that game is another big in-division rival game, Cleveland-Pittsburgh at Heinz Field. The number 6 Cleveland Browns versus the 3 seed Steelers. Steelers minus 647.5. That line actually opened at Steelers minus 3.5. So it seems like the betting public and everybody else is jumping on the Steeler bandwagon. The Browns barely beat the Steelers in that final Week 17 game, 20-22 or 24-22 or something like that, only by 2 points. And so the Steelers were not even playing Roethlisberger or any of their starters. So I have a feeling it's going to be a reversal of fortune for Cleveland, and they're going to be out. Everybody was saying Steelers the best team, and were they 12-0, and then they lost 4 out of the last 5 games. But they had no bye week. They had a ton of injuries. So I don't think it was all just they lost hard or anything. I think it was more that they just had a bunch of bad breaks, and they rested Big Ben in that final game and a bunch of defensive starters. So I think that wasn't saying the Steelers aren't the best team in the AFC, or at least the top 2 is probably.
So I have an observation for you. I happened to be watching. I can't remember who the Steelers were playing. They were behind, and I'm looking at the screen, and they've gone empty backfield. They can't run the ball, and I just was like, I've never seen Big Ben back there by himself. And I really it really said a lot about that coaching staff. It was like sometimes I get frustrated with this idea of just stick with the system. And I was like, they're finding a way to win. Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see what the Steelers team does. It's they're again, they've been hot and cold, but I don't know. I mean, without that running game, I mean, how it's just like, how far can Ben take you? He can take you a good ways. They'll probably win this game, but I don't know.
Maybe to the AFC Championship against the Chiefs, or possibility. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh minus the 6. Final score 28-21. So that's an over, a squeaker of an over actually. So because the line's 47.5. So that's
we got that's Lee Sterling. You heard from the
Mini Lee is challenging Papa Bear.
The hillbilly Lee Sterling.
Who gave me that moniker? The hillbilly Lee.
The hillbilly Lee Sterling.
Yeah,
well, thank you, Tommy.
Let's talk for a minute about because we're going to be doing a new show in a couple weeks.
For all you baseball junkies,
because we are both baseball guys.
Yep.
Played baseball in college, and so we're going to do a show, a Marlins dedicated to the Marlins, called Mainline Marlins. We'll
do a little bit of Canes baseball, but
Canes baseball for sure, because I love the milkshakes at Mark Light. So I'll be happy to go down there and eat some hot dogs and have some milkshakes. But it's going to be we're going to do an hour show during the week, and then on the weekends when the Marlins are in Jupiter, we're going to get up there, try to interview some players, some coaches, fans, people around the game up there, and kind of bring a little flavor of Jupiter back here to South Florida.
It's interesting. I am going to challenge sports fans. I've heard different sports guys say this. The Marlins have, as an organization, been so frustrating for people, so frustrating for fans. And these players, this team, this is an exciting time. And you're going to see the Marlins. Like, this is an exciting team to follow. And I follow them every year.
Yeah.
And I share the frustration. But it's good baseball. And it's fun baseball to watch. And I would encourage anyone to just put, if you want to watch some good baseball, put aside all that. Pay attention this year, because this team could go far.
Listen, they've got some players at the 3A level that are going to be competing. I mean, this is going to be, hey, look, you got to come out here and play on a consistent basis if you want to keep your spot, or you're going to the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. I mean, that's what's going to happen to you if you don't, because we got these young guys that are ready to come up right away that will compete for those positions. And the team's going to be young, dynamic, super fast. I think they're going to do something they're adding pitching. They're making the catcher position. They got 3 guys that are going to be competing for that job. I mean, I love Brian Anderson. There's a bunch of really good players on that team. They don't have name recognition just because the only people that watch the Marlins are me and you and a couple other people. The stadium is hardly ever full. So yeah, they're going to be awesome. And for us to take the journey from beginning to end to October this year and see where we are, and hopefully we're back in a playoff run in October.
Yep. Good.
It's going to be awesome.
Stuff.
So that's it, man. I'm going to try to find that music again and close this out with the classic,
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
We're going to close her out with a little bit.
Enjoy a great weekend of football.
There it is.